nature gifted to us full of infinite beauty? Yes, it is. Nature is vast and full of beautiful things, which soothe our physical and emotional senses. The beauty of nature is somewhat immortal, infinite and everlasting. The physical beauty of nature may perish for the time being, but the impact that sense of beauty will have on our minds will never pass into nothingness. For this mesmerizing effect of the nature to continue, the process of reproduction plays an important role, which ensures that a plant or animal species does not disappear from the earth. This process is very important in maintaining stability in the ecosystem and for the continuation of life on earth. With this, we would like to introduce our AIL biology project on the topic, the beauty of pollination. Like all living things, plants reproduce to ensure future generations. But since plants can't move from one place to another, they need a way to transfer pollen from one plant to another. As we know, the male and female gametes in flowering plants are produced in the pollen grain and embryo sac respectively. As both types of gametes are non-motile, they have to be brought together for fertilization to occur. This phenomena is achieved by the process of pollination. Pollination is the act of transferring pollen grains from the male anther of a flower to the female stigma. Flowering plants have evolved an amazing array of adaptations to achieve pollination. They make use of external agents to achieve this method. Once pollination occurs, the fertilized flowers produce seeds, which enable the associated plant to reproduce and or form fruits. Pollination provides many benefits to humans, with the most obvious being the abundance of food. Without any further delay, let us now proceed towards the kinds of pollination possible in the nature.
Pollinations can occur either within the same flower or between flowers of the same plant or between flowers of different plants. Depending upon this, pollinations are of three types, namely autogamy, geitonogamy and xenogamy. Autogamy or self-fertilization is a type of self-pollination where the transfer of the pollens from the anther to the stigma takes place within the same flower. Autogamy is predominantly observed in the form of self-pollination, a reproductive mechanism employed by many flowering plants. Opening and exposure of the anther and the stigma are very essential for autogamy. While, however, many species of protists have been observed using autogamy as means of reproduction, flowering plants engage in autogamy regularly, while the protists that do so engage in autogamy only in stressful environments. Autogamy is the closest form of inbreeding.
Geitonogamy. Geitonogamy is derived from Greek word geiton, equal to neighbor, plus gamein is equal to marry, is a type of self-pollination. Geitonogamous pollination is sometimes distinguished from the fertilizations that can result from it. Geitonogamy. If a plant is self-incompatible, geitonogamy can reduce seed production. Geitonogamy is when pollen is exported using a vector, pollinator or wind out of one flower but only to another flower of the same plant. It is a form of self-fertilization. In flowering plants, pollen is transferred from a flower to another flower on the same plant, and in animal pollinated system, this is accomplished by a pollinator visiting multiple flowers on the same plant. Geitonogamy is also possible within species that are wind pollinated and may actually be a quite common source of self-fertilized seeds in a self-compatible species. It also occurs in monoecious gymnosperms. Although geitonogamy is functionally cross-pollination involving a pollinating agent, genetically it is similar to autogamy since the pollen grains come from the same plant. Monoecious plants like maize show geitonogamy. Geitonogamy is not possible for strictly dioecious plants like Cucurbita maximum.
term xenogamy is derived from the Greek word xeno, which means stranger, and gamos, which means unifying sexually. It was first discovered by Kerner in 1876 along with the terms geitonogamy and autogamy. The process involves the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one plant to the stigma of the flower of another plant. This type of cross-pollination brings genetically different pollen grains of the same species to the stigma. Xenogamy is capable of producing variations through recombinations and genetically modified plants. As desired characters are obtained, the offsprings are better adapted. This type of pollination is observed in spinach, squashes, onions, and grass.
Now, let's learn about the agents of pollination. A pollinator is any agent that transfers pollen from male to female reproductive parts of flowers of same species. There are different kinds of pollinators, such as water. Water-pollinated plants are aquatic. Pollen floats on the water surface, drifting until it contacts flowers. Example, plants like Vallisneria spiralis use this kind of pollination. Wind. Anopheles or wind pollination is a form of pollination whereby pollen is distributed by wind. Wheat and maize are some common examples. Insects. Entomophily or insect pollination is a form of pollination whereby pollens of plants especially, but not only the flowering plants, is distributed by insects. Bats. More than 500 species of tropical plants are pollinated by nectar and pollen-eating bats, and they have evolved special features to make their nectar and pollen attractive to the nocturnal flyers. Such plants are called Chiropetrophilus or bat-loving. Birds. Ornithophily or bird pollination is the pollination of flower plants by birds. The plants typically have colorful, often red flowers with long tubular structures holding ample of nectar and orientations of stamen and stigma that ensure contact with the pollinator. It's really amazing to see how nature is so beautiful and systematic and everything connects with everything.
Sounds too good to be true. Two species helping each other and surviving for a million years, each getting as much as they give. For more than 40 million years, there has been a relationship between the yucca plant and the yucca moth. It's a particularly important one because neither of them can survive without the other. When the female gets ready to lay eggs, it first goes to the yucca flower to collect pollen grains. As she collects the sticky pollen, she packs it into a ball and sticks it under her head. She then flies off to another yucca flower. She arrives to the second flower, she lays her eggs in the ovary, and the pollen grains get attached to the stigma. Thus, the relationship between the yucca plant and the yucca moth is an example of an obligate mutualism.
This fascinating process of pollination can also be represented by the means of art. What is art? The dictionary definition of art says that it is the conscious use of skill and creative imagination, especially in the production of aesthetic objects. But the thing about art is that it's so diverse that there isn't present any single medium to express it. Just like that, we are having two ways of depicting the beauty of pollination via our artistic skills. First, this picture on screen shows a flower vase having handmade flowers in it, which are made out of wool threads. As we all know, a flower is the reproductive structure found in flowering plants. The biological function of a flower is to facilitate reproduction, usually by providing a mechanism for the union of sperm with eggs. Flowers may facilitate outcrossing, that is, fusion of sperm and eggs from different individuals in a population, resulting from cross-pollination, or allowing selfing, which means fusion of sperm and egg from the same flower when self-pollination occurs. Quilling is an art form that involves the use of strips of paper that are rolled, shaped, and glued together to create decorative designs. Using this form of art, now we're again gonna show the process of pollination. Just as different people have different perspective, art is also something that isn't having any particular layout. The way people will view it is their personal choice. Art is something limitless. It'll be an endless discussion if we continue stating the significance of art in the world.
The simple truth: we can't live without them. Pollination is not just fascinating natural history, it is an essential ecological survival function. Without pollinators, the human race and all of the Earth's terrestrial ecosystems would not survive. Of the 1,400 crop plants grown around the world, that is those that produce all of our food and plant-based industrial products, almost 80% require pollination by animals. Visits from bees and other pollinators also result in larger and more flavorful fruits and higher crop yields. In the United States alone, pollination of agricultural crops is valued at $10 billion annually. Globally, pollination services are likely worth more than $3 million. More than half of the world's diet of fats and oils come from animal pollinated plants like oil palm, canola, sunflowers, etc. More than 150 food crops in the US depend on pollinators, including almost all fruits and grain crops. The USDA estimated that crops dependent on pollination are worth more than $10 billion per year.
As was quoted by Samuel Butler, life is the art of drawing sufficient conclusions from insufficient premises. We are finally heading towards the end of our video presentation on the beauty of pollination. Here in this video, we have come across the introduction to the process of pollination, kinds of pollination, agents responsible for the same, the artistic way of representing the mechanism, and the significance of the process. That's all we had to state about the topic. We hope that the journey from the very beginning was as beautiful as the process of pollination.